Good day and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. So in this Horn of Africa update, I wanted to talk about the ongoing plight of the Tigray region. So as we know, the state of Eritrea, the United Nations, the United States has demanded that Eritrean forces withdraw from the Tigray region. And this has not occurred. As a matter of fact, Eritrean forces continue to deploy and reinforce its positions inside of northern Tigray along an access from Shire to Ottawa and the cities in between, Axum, and all cities connecting the northern areas of the Tigray region. While Ethiopian forces, the Ethiopian army, continues to consolidate its hold around Mekelle and environments south. But the primary military operation inside of the Tigray region is now firmly under the control of the Eritrean army and the despotic regime of Isaias Afwerki. In fact, Ethiopia could be considered under somewhat of the control of Isaias Afwerki. Command decisions within the Ethiopian army, especially located in the Tigray region, are going through the general staff of the Eritrean army in terms of operational deployments. Another a great concern, besides the weapon of starvation and the limiting of food and supplies to the Tigray region. I had mentioned this in a previous video, many videos ago, that I felt that as the Eritrean army continues to become stressed in a prolonged conflict against the Tigrayan defense forces, it could resort to some extreme measures. And indeed, we are starting to see some of these extreme measures in terms of the possible deployment of chemical weapons being utilized by the Eritrean army. This is something that is not difficult to produce in terms of the manufacture and deployment of chlorine gas type weapons, also known as mustard agents. Now, these reports indicate that those are the weapons that could be being used by the Eritrean army, and again, these are mustard-based agents, not nerve-based agents, but again, mustard gas type, chlorine gas type agents that could be in use inside of the Tigray region. In terms of its effect on the battlefield, well-supplied and trained militaries, nerve agents, and especially mustard and blister agents are not of a great concern. It's more of a nuisance in terms of transitioning into a mission-oriented protective posture to defend yourself against these nerve and blister agents. However, if you're part of the civilian population, or you are a irregular military formation who doesn't have the ability to protect itself from these blister agents, it could be a deciding factor in certain engagements. The other side of this, the Eritrean army, as well as the Ethiopian army, are not very well trained in the use of these blister agents, and do not seem to equip their troops, both the Eritrean army and Ethiopian army, to protect their troops as well from these blister agents. So it would appear that this mode of warfare, in terms of utilizing chemical weapons, are being utilized through the use of artillery shells and possibly dropped by helicopters or aircraft. There was one specific instance where we believe the Eritrean army may have dropped chemical weapons in the form of blister agents via a MiG-29 through the use of a fighter bomber dropping a chemical bomb on a target inside of central Tigray. But the conflict continues. It has obviously morphed into a more of a guerrilla type conflict in terms of the strategy being used by the Tigrayan Defense Forces. I've seen other commentary in other YouTube analysts that talk about the reduction of supply lines in terms of the TDF. Well, in a unconventional conflict such as this, supply lines become something a bit different than in a conventional conflict. The supply lines and the issue for supply in terms of the Tigray region have really been the same throughout the conflict. To the north of Tigray is Eritrea, a hostile nation state, so supplies coming through that area are limited. To the south, you have the Amhara region and Ethiopia proper, and obtaining supplies through that area, while less difficult than obtaining supplies through Eritrea, obviously is a great challenge. The other issue is through the border of Sudan, and that was very quickly the Eritrean army and Ethiopian army very quickly attempted to cut off that access. And that is probably the area where most of the Tigrayan Defense Forces supply are being moved through. Now, is it always successful? No. But the Eritrean army and Ethiopian army have not completely secured this western border. It remains porous, and supplies and men and equipment still are indeed getting through. In terms of the offensive operation that was launched by the Eritrean army into central Tigray, that has, well, it still continues. There is not a decisive victory. At the same time, it was not as organized and is not as organized as I believe it is being portrayed. It consists of probing actions by the Eritrean army towards central Tigray, but the Eritrean army simply does not have the capability of occupying central Tigray at this point. And we continue to see the Eritrean army having issues as well with supplying its forces. So again, the time clock, so to speak, is on the side of the Tigrayan Defense Forces. The issue at hand is the TDF simply not lose, and therefore the Eritrean army and what remains of the Ethiopian army simply cannot win. So again, look for this to be a protracted conflict. taking years, quite possibly. Again, look for the Ethiopian army to morph into something that it was not prior to last year, in terms of becoming a more what I would define as a Amhara-centric regional militia type forces, as the Ethiopian army continues to fragment along ethnic lines and simply disintegrate. But again, the conflict continues. The main power player at this point is Isaias Afwerki, who basically at this point, I would say, controls a great deal of the interworkings that are occurring both within the Amhara region and Addis Ababa as well, in terms of the Prime Minister's office and the body politic inside of Ethiopia. Ethiopia appears to be heading, if not already at that point of being controlled by Isaias Afwerki through his direct subordinate, Abiy Ahmed. Have a great day, everybody.